I was over in the Isle of Wight a few days ago and thought I'd take the opportunity to visit the Isle of Wight Steam Heritage Railway, which is a short 5.5 mile railway from Smallbrook Junction, which is near Ryde, to Wight. Railways came to the Isle of Wight in 1862 and spread across the island from Ryde through to Shanklin and Newport in the centre, and Cowes, and as far as Freshwater.
Yeah,
Uncle, you got your bag.
thank you. Where are you?
Here we see a Hunslet J94 060 saddle tank, Army 194, Royal Engineer. Lines were poorly maintained and quite a few lines closed from around 1952 onwards, and the last steam engine to run was in 1966 from Ryde. The Isle of Wight Railway Company was formed in 1971 with just 1.5 miles of track laid between Wootton and Haven Street. This was gradually extended towards Ryde, and in 1991 the extension reached Smallbrook Junction on the Ryde-Shanklin Island line. On the approach to the main centre at Haven Street. The steam heating using from below the railway carriage. Little ones get excited as we go into the tunnel. And now back at Haven Street, we see the J94 shunting preserved Adams O2, the last steam locomotive at the Isle of Wight. 044 tank loco Calbourne. And now into the train story exhibition. And we see the previous underground stock used on the Island Line now preserved in the exhibition.
How much money I had in my book?
I was not. I don't care if you've got £25 in the post office.
But I haven't got £25 in the post office. No, but I have.
In 1945, I was one of 8 women working on the island's railways, whilst the men were fighting the war. However, when the war was over, the men took over their jobs again, and I was the last woman to be made redundant. I was lucky though, because they asked me to continue working as a ticket collector at Ryde Pier station. They must have thought I was good. I then worked as an A1 porter at Blackwater station, looking after the crossing gates, ticket office and milk deliveries. I lived in Gunville, so I left my house at 5:30 a.m. and cycled there every day. It was a lonely journey. One day at work, the train was coming to a very windy Yarmouth station. There was no station staff about, so I had the job of closing all the doors and giving the "right away" to the driver. As the train started to set off, I ran back towards my compartment, but a door swung out and knocked me off balance. I almost fell under the wheels of the train, but I held on to the door. At the end of the platform, I finally let go with exhaustion. I had a bruised ankle, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
A faster way was needed to get them to the Esplanade where they could spend their money. The Ryde Pier Company built a second pier alongside the first, with a double-track tramway opening in 1864. They hoped to use the latest technology, a small steam locomotive, to haul the carriages. But early engines were noisy and very unreliable. Horses were safer. The new Isle of Wight Railway connected Ryde to Shanklin and Ventnor, but it only went as far as St John's Road Station, 3/4 of a mile away from the pier gates. Carriages queued to take posh visitors to the station, Less wealthy tourists had to walk. It wouldn't be until 1871 that the tramway was extended through the streets of Ryde to the station. The tramway avoided marshy ground by going straight through the ground floor of Holywell House in the Strand. The tramcars were not all the same. Some were enclosed single-deck vehicles, and some were double-deck cars with an open top deck, perfect for the summer but not so good on rainy days. 10 years later, the railway was extended to take trains all the way through to the pier head. The tracks ran on a third pier alongside the tramway pier, and the tramway through the streets was abandoned. The popularity of the pier itself continued to grow, and the pier's original wooden pilings were replaced in cast iron. The trams were full of tourists, and the company continued to experiment with new technologies. But once again, none were as reliable as the horses. Finally, in 1886, the company found the perfect solution. The tramway was electrified using a third rail. Ryde Pier was now home to England's first electric-powered standard gauge trams, and they featured on the resort's picture postcards for the next 40 years. This tramcar is double-ended and can be driven from either end. It was built in 1911 by Ryde coach builders Pollard & Sons. It frequently ran with trailer car number 4, affectionately known as the Grapes car. In the 1920s, the Southern Railway took over all the island's railways, including the Ryde Pier Company. They replaced the aging electric trams with 2 new petrol-engine tramcars, built by the Drury Railcar Company. The 2 Drury cars were single-ended and always ran with the driver facing towards the shore, which meant that they had to be driven backwards up the pier. After running through the buffers at the pier head several times, marker points were installed to remind the driver when to brake.